I like Hutchinson the best, and I don't think Linderbaum is worth a top 10 pick. Thibodeau slipped, and I am going to grab Thibodeau. The Giants took Khalil Elam. Good for them. Kenyon Green is a guarantee in my mind. He would be such a dream pick right here. Evan Neal is still on the board. I'm not going to pick this now. That 44 pick could be tight end. That 44 pick could be a good linebacker, a good safety. We could drop back one pick and pick up a second rounder for New Orleans. We got options here. Oh, yeah, we got options. There's lots of options. And you know where there's even more options? Apparently, there's options at quarterback. There's a lot of quarterback options, and one option is available right now in free agency. As you know, his name is Derek Carr, and it is official. He is available, and we were right. We were right. I do want to say that we were correct in our assessments because we've been saying for a long time now, we are not going to have to trade anything if we end up with Derek Carr because Derek Carr is going to be released. And, of course, as you all see, he was released. And it made no sense for any team to trade with him. And it made no sense for Derek Carr to accept a trade to another team because now he's in the best possible situation. He is a complete 100% unrestricted free agent. With the ability to sign with any team. As a matter of fact, it's even better than that because he doesn't have to wait until the season opens or anything like that. As a released player, he can sign tomorrow, right now. He could sign at any moment. He doesn't have to wait until the official offseason begins because he was released. That's the difference between him and, let's say, a Connor McGovern, who another team cannot talk to right now or sign because the tampering period has not begun. So there is a difference for anybody wondering why we can sign Derek Carr, but we can't sign anybody else or no other team could start signing our free agents. It's because he was officially released. Without further ado, let me say hello to some people in the comments, and then we'll get started with the show. Chode Uglas is there. He's a chef in North Carolina, and hopefully he's doing well. He's a bitter man, very bitter man. Harlan Anderson, or I'm sorry, Harlan Abraham, a little less bitter, a little not a bitter man. But Josh G just ate a salad with her. Jets 830, awesome supporter of the show. What's going on, my friend? Vervain goes back a long way. Back to the early days when I was just in the chats getting to know people. And we have Jets Mess, the original snacker, the one who is the reason for the name Snackers. He's here. And, of course, our moderator, Grandizer, is here to help us along in the show and keep everything organized. We also have Wild Wave in the house. Got on early today, buddy. You weren't late today, buddy. You're here early. Sometimes you don't come in until like an hour, 2 hours into the show. But anyway, you're here now, and we will get started. Let me introduce to you the man with the plan, the man that I will see soon enough. I'm going to see this guy in less than a month. I'm going to see this guy. We're going to eat some pizza together, and that's going to feel good. And just as I'm doing this, Tigo comes into the chat. So what's going on, Tigo? But please welcome everybody, Watch2K99.
Good evening. We are here in the off season. I mean, the Super Bowl, doesn't the Super Bowl already feel like it happened weeks ago? You know, we have so turned the page on this thing already. But, you know, it seems like the last couple of years as Jets fans, it's been all about what's the future direction of this team? What are we building? What are we going forward? What are we going to be able to upgrade? And what positions are we going to have to leave off to the side? Because it's felt like we've had to overhaul this team for a while now. But we can be happy in the sense that we know what our needs are. We know what it is that we have to do. Now it's time to go do the job.
All right. I love it. I love it. Look. So now here's our situation. Here it's kind of interesting. You got Derek Carr completely available, and teams are going to start making offers with. They're already doing it. There's no question about it. His agent has probably been on the phone all day, right? No question.
Well, if I was him, I'd be on the phone. I'd be calling. I'd be sending letters. I mean, I'd be
Oh,
sending faxes. I'd be doing all kinds of text
oh,
messages.
I don't
Everything.
I don't think he's needing to do any of the calling. He's answering the phone because right off the bat, Carolina's probably calling and talking.
Oh, most definitely.
Wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee was. We know the Saints are. And then there are teams that people don't see, like that we don't know about. I mean, Washington put on this whole big act. They like their quarterback, but we don't know that Washington is not going to inquire. And there's even like rumors that teams like the Miami Dolphins might be inquiring. Not with an unsure future of their quarterback. And I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. There might be anybody else you think might be picking up the calling them that we don't see and people don't talk about on the radar as much.
I mean, it feels like the entire NFC South should be in on Derek Carr. There's no doubt about it. That is the most quarterback-deprived division maybe in the history of the NFL. I mean, my gosh, there's just so much question. But I think a lot of it is really going to come down to some of these teams. Like Indianapolis, they can use a quarterback. But you know what? You wonder which one of these teams are going to use their picks to try to get Stroud, to get Young, to get Richardson, Levis, and those types of guys. Because, from what we're hearing, there's going to be at least 4 quarterbacks gone, probably I'd say in the top 20. Maybe 5 in the first round of the draft. This is going to be a top-heavy quarterback draft, and that plays perfectly into the Jets' hands, particularly if they hold on to draft pick number 13. So if you're one of those teams with a higher draft pick, do you take the chance? Do you forgo the free agents and attach your wagon to one of these young kids? There's going to be several teams that are going to be doing it. Yep. It's really going to be interesting. You know what, Jets 830? I think, for one thing, the chance to work with Frank Reich, and you have an owner who's filthy rich. And let's face it, it's a winnable division. You put a good quarterback on any one of those teams, there's no reason they can't win the division.
Yeah, I mean, I Derek Carr went to Carolina. They still have some of those defensive pieces. They're pretty good defensively. So if he was to suddenly go to Carolina with pretty solid coaching staff, they definitely would make noise. I don't see and you're right, it's an easier division to win. You don't have to win 13, 14 games to win the division. You could win the division game with you could win that division with 11 wins, probably pretty solidly. What do you think of Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay is sort of the mystery team that nobody's talking about. I mean, who do they have on their roster? Blaine Gabbert? I mean, right. That's their quarterback right now. It's Blaine Gabbert. Tigo said he would be the starting. I would trust you as a starting quarterback over Blaine Gabbert at this point. Okay. Yeah, they are probably the mystery team. Now they pick, their pick is a little bit lower in the draft, so they might be a team if they want to try to contend right now. Again, these teams, do they want to tear this thing down and, start over, or does Tampa Bay think they've got one last run of them if they can replace the quarterback? Oh. I don't know. Kyle Trask. Oh boy, Kyle Trask. That's how good Kyle Pitts was in college. He made Kyle Trask look competent. That is a very impressive accomplishment by Kyle Pitts, and it's just one more reason why the Atlanta offense is a train wreck right now. Yeah, if I'm Tampa Bay, I mean, I still got to think. I got some good pieces. I've got some pieces on the offensive line, got playmakers. The defense still has some very, very capable players. You put a good quarterback in the league. I mean, you can definitely contend for a division title, but how far can you really go? I don't know what Tampa Bay's cap situation is, granted.
Right. Yeah, they might be a little tapped.
I would think, I feel like Garoppolo would even make sense for them too. I feel like that kind of a player. So
yeah, they're gonna have to do something, right? So we don't know. I mean, they may have been quiet this whole time, and they might come in really hard for Derek Carr. We have no idea. Jets 830. Nola is attractive to Carr because the head coach used to be. Yes, that's true. Carolina, they have Reich as the coach, and a lot of people want to play for him. It's true. Right. I mean, now getting Nathaniel Hackett early was big for us, because although there are people that are kind of obsessed or can't shake loose his weak performance as a head coach, the players don't forget your performance in all your roles over all the years. The players don't have such short-term memory. Like they all know, and Nathaniel Hackett has a very good reputation as a offensive coordinator, and he's a good quarterback coach. Like he's good with quarterbacks. It's 1 year, and he was the head coach, and he had a player who decided he wanted to be Aaron Rodgers that doesn't have the talent to be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, from all intents and purposes, said, "This is how I want to play offense. This is how I want to work. This is what's going to make me be the best player that I could be." And if you've got a power struggle, let's think about who's going to win that. The quarterback who's won a championship, has been revered as one of the best quarterbacks probably of this generation, and just signed an enormous contract, and that you gave the sun, the moon, and the stars to bring him to your city? Or is it going to be the first-year head coach who has built next to no resume, has no resume as far as a head coach goes? Russell Wilson won a power struggle, plain and simple, and it makes sense that he did. When I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, it might have been Stephen A. Smith, somebody like that, say, he hasn't shown he can handle a locker room or anything like that. He doesn't have to handle a locker room. I'm not worried about Nathaniel Hackett having to play, high school principal or anything like that. He just has to know what kind of talent he wants. Basically say to Joe Douglas, here's what we need on this offense. Joe brings him in, which we know Joe's very good at going to get the assets that we want. And then it's up to Hackett to devise the offense. And we know we've got the capable pieces. This isn't going to be a situation where if the offense fails, we could say, well, he didn't really have the horses to work with. No. Hackett is going to have the horses to work with. And there's more coming. So, the fact that we have connections from Tennessee, from Oakland, and from Green Bay, it's like we're spreading our chips out across the table. It's like we're trying to have as many possible scenarios as we can to make the New York Jets as appealing a destination as it could be for a free agent quarterback.
Yeah, I haven't heard Nathaniel Hackett speak. I mean, we could easily go onto YouTube after this and go, type in Nathaniel Hackett Denver press conference and just hear him speak at a press conference. But I don't care how he speaks. I mean, as long as he's, doing the other things that he has to do well. Wacky 79 comes in and says, I think Jeff Ulbrich had a really good season last year. What do you guys think? Well, it's really hard to say he didn't have a good season. I mean, we were the 32nd ranked defense going into the year. We ended up, and there's a million different measures and metrics and arguments, but when you average it all out, it's safe to say the Jets were a top 5 defense based on every rating system combined, right? I mean, there's no question about it. So you cannot do anything but credit the defensive coordinator and say he did a great job. Now, people will argue it's Saleh's vision. Saleh's a defensive-minded head coach. It's Saleh. But at the end of the day, not only is he the defensive coordinator, but he actually does call the plays. So it's, I understand there are coordinators that don't call the plays and you say they're just there. But no, I mean, there's nothing to really attack or criticize or doubt. I mean, Jeff Ulbrich did a really good job. I think the reason that you're not going to see him in a head coaching conversation just yet is, yes, there is definitely value and merit to the argument that it's a Robert Saleh coach team who's a defensive-minded coach, which means Ulbrich will have to do it for a few consecutive years. But I do think it shines good on him that he is the play caller. He's not just a guy filling an empty role. You know what I mean?
I think when it comes to this, we know what the defense is. This is not a defense that requires a whole lot of creativity. We know what it is. Rush the 4, drop the 7 back into coverage for the most part. It seems to me the biggest thing Ulbrich has to do is figure out who his best players are and know when to play them. That seems to be one of the most important things. I could say this. I don't think we have a very creative defense, but once in a while it does work. Case in point, the Sauce Gardner blitz on the first play against Miami when Sauce sacked Bridgewater and took him out of the game. So he can do it when need be. But as far as calling different types of defenses, I feel like this is a pretty vanilla defense, and vanilla can be good. It's like you can know what's coming, but still you got to beat it. Rex was all about creativity, exotic blitz schemes. I felt we're hearing about exotic blitzes like more than anything, because we didn't have the best players in the league, so we had to get creative with the system. Here we've got elite talent on this defense. I mean, 3 or 4 I would call elite players. So the great players reflect on a very good coordinator. What was interesting to me on that similar note? I actually turned on Philadelphia sports radio on Monday because I wanted to hear how Philadelphia was reacting to losing the Super Bowl. And every single first 5-6 callers, they blamed the same person, Jonathan Gannon, somebody who most football fans didn't even know who he was until about a week or 2 ago. But they were blaming him more than anything for running a soft defense, for being the Achilles heel. Next day, the guy gets a head coaching job.
Well, I saw an article.
Amazing.
Well, I saw an article really attacking that. Somebody was really vicious about it. Said he gets the start. He got the head coaching job, and Bieniemy for Kansas City, the offensive coordinator, who beat the defense, who beat him, who outcoached him, who, according to players on the Chiefs, gave them the strategy, detected. He did the research. He saw a flaw. He saw, like, he told his offense, he went and told his offense that he detected a weakness, that in a Jacksonville game where if the receivers pause and then take off, it somehow beats whatever scheme they were running, right? And they did it twice for touchdowns. So he literally outcoached him, and still could not get a head coaching job over the guy he outcoached.
There'll be like a 30 for 30 one day on Eric Bieniemy. Why couldn't you get a job? What happened in this? He must be the worst interview in the world. It's the only thing that I could think of with Eric Bieniemy, why he still doesn't have a job. But I guess the biggest thing I could give him credit for, Jeff Ulbrich, is that after about week 4, 5, 6, nobody was talking about him anymore because the defense was getting better and nobody wanted him fired. So that's how you know that a coordinator's doing a great job, is when nobody's talking about it. It's like an umpire. It's like a referee. The less said about them, the better.
Yeah, it's not often that you get lots of compliments, and as a coordinator, like people definitely pay attention and focus more on the negative than when you're doing well on the positive. When you're doing well, there's always an excuse. He's got great players. He's not really the coach. The head coach really is in charge, But when it's doing horrible, oh man, you're under the microscope. You're the tackling dummy. So Rex Ryan is reported to be the lead candidate for the Broncos defensive coordinator job. Look, he's been out of the game for a long time, and the game changes. So, and what that makes me say is not that he will fail. It makes me say he will not necessarily succeed. It's a question mark. I don't think it's guaranteed that that's going to be a great thing for Denver, but I also won't say that it's a bad thing. I mean, he might come in there, and with the talent they have on their defense, Rex might be great for them, but they had a pretty awesome defensive coordinator there for the past few years. So I don't know that they're going to get any better than they were, I mean,
the problem with that team was definitely not the defense last year. They held it up as long as they could until they had nothing left to give. That defense they allowed 20 points 2-3 times all year. I mean, that Denver defense, they had some pieces. They had some playmakers on that D. But if I'm Rex Ryan, why wouldn't I want to go to a team that has that kind of defense? And it's interesting because Rex has said in the past that he couldn't see himself returning to the NFL unless it was as a head coach. He just couldn't see himself doing that. Well, I guess this much time goes by, and what was it, 6 years? He's probably been out 5. I think it's been 6 years. And I guess his perspective has changed. And you know what? If he gets his first chance to be a defensive coordinator since 2008, what can I do but wish him the best, except when they play the Jets.
Yeah. John Nolte, yes, that's a big reason why he's having trouble getting a job, and that's why he's considering a offensive coordinator job for a different team. It's usually you don't see a guy, leave a winning team, a great situation, and make a lateral move like that. But I think it's not a lateral move because I think if the Commanders allow him to call the plays, he believes that's what he needs to do to prove himself to be a head coach.
But by the same token, if you're the offensive coordinator in Kansas City, that's about as secure a coordinator job as you could have because you got number 15 there playing quarterback. You've got number 87 at tight end. You've got an amazing interior offensive line, maybe the best in the NFL for that matter. And you have a GM who finds these pieces late in the draft. Moore, Pacheco, all these guys. They replaced Tyreek Hill, and they didn't miss a beat. In fact, they won the championship. So if I'm Bieniemy, if I'm making a quote-unquote lateral move to another offensive coordinator position, it'd be like, you know what? They might give me the chance to call the plays, but I know that I got a job here for a while. If I'm Bieniemy, now, of course, this is my mindset. I wouldn't want to make the move unless I'm becoming a head coach because what offensive coordinator job is going to be better unless you're paying me a great deal more money?
So here's a question that we might have to face. Like, this might be reality. This might be reality. If Derek Carr signs with another team in the next couple of days, Aaron Rodgers, man, nobody knows what this guy is. A kook. So, he might come out and say, I'm retired. He might come out and say, I'm staying with the Packers. We don't know. Okay, if we miss on both, if they're both off the table, what do we do? Now, I think a lot of people will say Jimmy G right off the bat. Some people will say Ryan Tannehill. Some people like a cheaper Jacoby Brissett. Especially people who still believe that Zach, another offseason could improve and take a step with a new coaching staff, with a new offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, and that a guy like Jacoby Brissett would improve us in the position for now, but give Zach the opportunity to come back. So there's all kinds of opinions out there. To me, if you ask what I think the Jets are going to do, I think it would be probably Tannehill or Jimmy G.
So, okay. So put it this way. Of those two, which one would you go for? If the contract is the same, because here's the thing, Tannehill, we're expecting Tannehill to get cut. Is that what? Because he's not a free agent. He's not.
I think they're expecting. I think they think he might get cut because he's going to be very expensive. So they're going to need to cut him
over $30 million. Yeah.
Now I will say that Tannehill, I believe, will come at a much cheaper price than Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G is going to come as being more expensive.
I would think, considering Garoppolo for one thing is 5 years younger.
Yeah.
I think that'd be part of it. To me, Tannehill is 35, 36 years old, and
is he that old? I had no idea he was that old.
He's been around a minute, man. Yeah, I'll pull it up. Yeah. Oh yeah. I got the info here. Yep, 34 years old. He turns 35 in July.
Well, he's getting, as Dom C would say, he's getting long in the tooth.
A little bit longer in the tooth is right, and it feels like he was drafted in 2012, not that long ago. It feels like, but
Tigo with the kind of controversial comments.
Right. We've had a little exchange about this, and we just did not agree. I
mean, the stats certainly don't back him in this in any way.
Tannehill does have some good stats, and as I looked into because I had a few people
lately though.
I won't mention them by name. Well, you probably know who. But they were saying, well, compare Tannehill and Carr. And I did. And if you look at the career stats, yes, Billy, 34. I said 35 come July. So, yes, I hear you. But, yeah, the stats are pretty similar. But you know what? I feel like Tannehill, especially since Arthur Smith left, I feel like his career we've seen the best of him. We can look at the past resume, and I get that, but going forward, I don't have a lot of faith in Ryan Tannehill. People have asked me, do you think Derek Carr can go head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes? I'm like, I give him a hell of a lot better chance than I do Ryan Tannehill. Well, we don't have Derrick Henry. We don't have Mike Vrabel. We don't have that offensive line. Come on. Tannehill.
It's very hard.
A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. Come on. No.
It's very hard to believe that anybody that would put down Derek Carr would be happier about Tannehill, because if you want to talk about needing a system and needing certain things around him, he had an unstoppable running back and then was able to do play action passes and had all his receivers were one-on-one. And
And
there was a lot of
Arthur
opportunities.
Smith is a great offensive, not a good offensive coach. He's a great offensive coach. I mean, the games that they played, I mean, the teams they were able to beat and the playoff runs they made, man, I really like Arthur Smith. And I feel like Tannehill lost something when he left. I really do. Any of those quarterbacks will do well, Barney.
This is actually one of the most positive comments I've ever read from Modine.
I know. Are we sure it's the same Modine? Is this J. Cole pretending to be Modine? What's going on right now?
Every once in a while, Modine is in a sobering mood and just like it with all his bashing and smashing, will come out with and show that he's reflective and thoughtful in what's going on, and he's right on top here. Yep. If you give the truth is we didn't have competent quarterback play consistently. Like we didn't have consistent, competent quarterback play. And the truth is, if our offensive line is healthy, comes back healthy, I don't know if Breece Hall is going to be healthy, right? I don't know these things, but I'm saying with the players we have, if they're healthy, if we were the way we were when we were running well in the midseason last year, that team that was running well, if you put a competent quarterback on that team, you have to think we're for real.
I mean, our completion percentage, even during those wins, I mean, Zach was completing 50 to 55% of his passes. I mean, I could remember 18 for 37, those types of games going on. And I mean, we're saying Tannehill makes this a playoff team. Guys, there are about 25 quarterbacks in the NFL that we would have made the playoffs if they were on our team. There are a lot of quarterbacks that could have done that. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I did a video recently on Jimmy Garoppolo because people talk about, well, he gets injured. I wanted to look deeper and see, okay, what injuries has he had and how severe were they? He's had some minor ones. He's had some major ones. The most severe being an ACL tear about 4 or 5 years ago. But I look at it this way. He had one shoulder sprain that cost him, I think, 1 game, and then he came back. But he hasn't had shoulder problems. He hasn't had back problems. He hasn't had neck problems. He hasn't had Peyton Manning issues, like when Manning had to retire because of his neck problems. And I'll tell you what, I think Manning would have stayed another 5 years if he could have. I think he would have kept playing, but his neck deteriorated. And that left the stage, unfortunately, to Brady. So the fact that most of his injuries have been to his lower extremities, it's been a calf strain, it's been the broken foot this year, that type of stuff, high ankle sprains, that kind of stuff. Now you might say, well, there's Lamar Jackson. I mean, the difference is Lamar needs to run to win. Jimmy Garoppolo is not. His success, his record, he has 40 wins to less than 20 losses in his career. He didn't win those games because he could run well. So as long as he's still capable of throwing a very good pass, which he is in my book, he really is. He was playing his best football, his smartest football this year. The sack rate kept going down. The interception rate was dropping. The fumbles were going down, which had been a problem for him. He's getting smarter, and I think he's ready to play his best football going forward. I don't feel that way about a Ryan Tannehill, for instance. And that's one reason why Jimmy G is my clear number 3.
Yeah, I have Jimmy G as my number 3. I want to take some time to thank people. I see a lot of names here. Guys, I want to thank you. A lot of you guys in the chat. I see you guys commenting constantly on my videos, like Billy SBC and Harlan and Jim Pock. I mean, like John Nolte all the time, and even Modine. I say even Modine. That's so bad, but I want to thank you guys for that. I want to thank you guys for your support. That not only do you come here for the live shows, but you actually watch the videos and comment on them. I don't do that really that often enough to thank you guys for that. So I really want to just throw it out there. I really appreciate those of you that are watching the videos and commenting, and it's nice of you to be doing that. It's I appreciate the support. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and then I wanted to bring. There's a comment here right here. So here's my thing. I'm gonna I've said this before, but I'll say it again because it's a legitimate question that Lamar could be a plan if we miss on the other 2 guys. I don't like the idea of going after and getting Lamar Jackson, and here's why. I think Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback. I have nothing against Lamar Jackson. I think he'd be the best quarterback to come into our building in 30 years, maybe ever in the history of the team. I am not blind on the talent of Lamar Jackson. My issue with Lamar Jackson is the price. For everything we can tell and everything we know, Baltimore is not just asking for 3 number ones. They're asking for 3 number ones and more. They're asking for the biggest trade haul ever. That's what we got that from a Baltimore content provider. Me and Dom C talked to him for like 20 minutes, and he was very clear that Baltimore, if they were going to move on from Lamar Jackson, it isn't just 3 first-round picks. It's not. That they would want other draft picks, and he even suggested he thinks they would demand Quinnen Williams or someone of that caliber. So I want to say that I have no interest in that. I have no interest in mortgaging 3 years of first-round picks, especially when you see what Joe Douglas is capable of with first-round picks. And I have no interest in paying a guy $50 million so we have to cut and release players and not be able to replace them with the draft. So to give away that and some other picks and to pay all that money and have to cut players and not have the draft capital to replace those players, I'm sorry. I just think that it's a dead end for us. Yes, maybe we'll be a playoff team with him because he's so good. But I don't think we'll be able to beat teams like Kansas City and Buffalo. I don't see it because I don't think Lamar Jackson will have the talent around him because of the price we're paying. Because honestly, if I consider what our roster would look like and the talent that we would have around Lamar Jackson, I don't believe it would be any better than what Baltimore has put around him. And if they haven't won the Super Bowl, why would we? And all of that, let's remember that Lamar has failed to finish the last 2 seasons and missed about a third of the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, very well said. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was actually reported today that Lamar Jackson would be the Jets' second option, to which I say, well, that's fine with me, but a couple of things. What is Baltimore asking for? Because, again, it doesn't just cost money. That you have to factor that in. It's not just what the player costs. It's not just money. It's not even necessarily draft picks, but how much of the cap is this player taking up? Lamar Jackson sees the standard for the quarterback contract, and that standard is Deshaun Watson. Watson was not good at all when he came back, but Lamar Jackson, I guarantee it, looks at Deshaun Watson's contract and says, give me that contract. Except maybe sweeten it up just a little bit more. If Jackson is taking that, think about it. It's about who you have to sacrifice in order to bring that player in. Gary, yes, I agree, but let's be honest. With these types of quarterbacks haven't won the Super Bowl in 20, 25 years. Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer, a long time ago now. It's been a minute since those types of quarterbacks won. You can win, I think but your defense has to be like Baltimore 2000 level. That good.
But I do think his point is that Baltimore's been a pretty strong organization, and if they won with Trent Dilfer, but they can't win with Lamar Jackson, it means. I mean, it's like I don't know how anybody can make the argument. Well, Lamar wasn't surrounded by talent, or Lamar did. Baltimore's been a class act team for the last 21 years. They're an excellently coached team, and if Lamar couldn't win a Super Bowl with them, I have serious reservations about. Don't get me wrong, we could win a Super Bowl with Lamar with the team the way it is now with all its draft picks. Like if you would have put Lamar on our team and he's healthy week 8 last year and we get to finish the season, hell yeah, I'd be thinking we have a chance at the Super Bowl. But the reality is we would not be the same team. It would be a different team.
And these types of quarterbacks, we know the shelf life is short. It really can be. Have we seen the best of Lamar at this point? You could very well make the argument that we have. We don't know, but it's possible. To me, that risk is just way too much. Yep, Flacco. Well, yeah, Flacco was the one, and you still had the Ray Lewis's and Ed Reed. I think Ed Reed was still on that defense. Yeah, it's amazing to me that defense. I watched a 30 for 30 on the 2000 Ravens. That defense was as good as it was. Ed Reed hadn't even come along yet. I was just thinking, oh my God, if Ed Reed was on that team, it would have been the best defense of all time. But Flacco did what he had to do as far as that goes. But people respect Flacco as a competent NFL quarterback at the time. People were down. Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson were like lower level backup caliber quarterbacks. Flacco was at least a solid starter. So it is another level up. But our defense would have to jump another level to get there, because I don't think Carl Lawson's going to be here come September. I really don't. I think we need to save the $15 million. And Jacob, you're saying exactly what I want to say. If Zach pans out, we don't have to sacrifice that money on quarterback, and we can use it to, improve other positions, or even better, maintain what we already have.
Well, and that's my argument for when people put down JD this bad. JD came within, because nobody knows for sure on a quarterback. JD came so close. If Zach would have panned out and been special, and not even Mahomes Allen special, but just really good, like Flacco when he was young, or Matt Ryan when he was young. If he just would have been hit and been a good quarterback, JD would be on a pedestal, because we would have been pushing for the Super Bowl in the second year of the rebuild. So, it's just so simple to understand. We missed by a quarterback, and it's not like he made some crazy pick that no other team would have picked. A lot of teams wanted Zach Wilson and would have picked him. So they didn't do anything. He didn't do anything wrong. It's just sometimes you miss. And there's still a flash of hope that Zach Wilson could turn it around. There's a flash of hope, because he's still super young and all this and all that. I wouldn't bet money on it. I'm just saying it's not impossible. But Jacob, I think about it all the time. Every time I think about the draft picks it might cost to get Aaron Rodgers, every time I think about the money it takes to Derek Carr, when we talk about the Lamar Jackson, every time we have these conversations, and part of me is thinking, man, if Zach would have panned out, what an organization, what a position we would be in right now. I honestly believe we'd be a top 4 team in the AFC if Zach Wilson would have panned out and been a legitimate contender for the Super Bowl last year, and then, for years moving forward.
No doubt about it. Gary, do we want a self-indulgent, immunized, spoiled? See, if you hadn't said immunized, I would have assumed that was Brady.
Where is it? I don't see.
Yeah, who's still probably a top 5 quarterback in the history of the sport, bottom line.
So, but I do have my
concerns about him.
Nobody is perfect, right? You could sit here, we could sit here, and with Aaron Rodgers, there's some weirdness. I'm not going to talk about the I've been immunized, whatever. I'm going to talk about the whole I need to go in seclusion thing. He's had all this time to think. He needs to go into seclusion next week to think. What are you talking about? Why for the past 3 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, since they lost that Detroit game, why couldn't he for 3 weeks go into seclusion and decide what he wants to do? This is annoying. It's a little annoying. He's a little weird. He looks a little distracted. It looks like he's a different person than he was in his prime. It does. It feels different. I'm not going to say I don't want him. If we land Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to be as excited as the next guy. I'm just saying it's not perfect. He didn't have his great year last year. He is at an age where it is possible he's going to continue to decline. Not everybody's Brady. It's possible that last year was the beginning of the end for him. We don't know for sure. And then Derek Carr, I know he can't win in the cold. That's what they say, right? He has no playoff experience. So there's that knock on him. Jimmy G is always hurt. The other thing on Carr is, why did the Raiders release him if he's so good? So everybody has some negatives to them. Everybody has concerns attached to them. Don't you think?
The question is, which concerns are you willing to take on? What concerns are acceptable to you? What blemishes are okay? Hey, if Joe Burrow was a free agent, we all know, I think we'd all be in agreement. The one thing that is going to be a little bit annoying is whenever the Jets do get their quarterback, no matter who it is, half the fan base at least is going to be ticked. And it's gonna become like a civil war with Jets fans, starting. They might argue, I think, for a little bit, but then I think we'll turn the page and say, okay, this is what we have. Certainly, it's going to be better than last year. What are we going to do going forward, and how can we make it as good for quarterback X as it could possibly be? So, yeah, and the thing with Rodgers, I mean, he can be quirky. I don't give a rip how he deals with the media. I don't care that he was willing to call out Rappaport and Schefter on the Pat McAfee show. Fine. It's all good. The only thing that worries me is, would his weird habits cause any dissension within the locker room? Does it cause any problems? Put it this way. I don't think that's going to be the problem. As long as Aaron Rodgers can still throw the football, long as he could still do what he was doing to a pretty close to that level, I think any what's the word I'm looking for? Dissectors, any players who might have their doubts, if he could throw, it's going to shut everybody up. And the press conferences will just become another fun little story. They'll just become entertainment. And ultimately, that's all we need them to be.
Look, the hope would be that he's not on a severe decline. The hope would be that last year he didn't have the receivers he had.
Didn't have the line.
He didn't have the offensive line that he's had. That hopefully ours would be healthy, so it would be different. And the way I would, if you took an average of his last 3 seasons and averaged them together, or even his last 2 seasons and took the average of those 2, that would be enough to make us incredibly dangerous. Even though last year would be considered an off season. If you just have a blend of him in 21 and 22, an equal blend of those 2 quarterbacks, and combine and average those stats, dude, we're dangerous. And that's the positive in my mind. Because in my mind, I don't think he's done. I think that he clearly was in a difficult situation in Green Bay. I think that he had no team around him. I mean, pretty good defense, but the offense around him was just very suspect.
It really was. And it took Christian Watson didn't get going until the second half of the season anyway. I mean, he had a drop on what would have been like a long touchdown, and you barely saw him again for 7 or 8 weeks. So, I mean, look at but Rodgers has an ability we've seen to elevate other players. And, even though we may have some folks who are down on Denzel Mims, I'm willing to bet, but I would have the confidence that Aaron Rodgers can elevate him the way he elevated a Jermichael Finley, for instance, like a Richard Rodgers. I know those are tight ends, but those are names absolutely nobody would have heard of if they hadn't played with number 12. But one thing I need from Rodgers, I need 2 years. If this was now, I don't know if they could rework the contract or something like that to where there's some sort of incentive to try to keep him for the second year, or the compensation they have to give Green Bay changes depending on how long he plays. But what I can't bear is giving up like a first and a second round pick for 1 year. I can't do that. I'll give up a good draft pick for each year. I can live with that. I can't deal with trading more picks than we get seasons from Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Tony Alexio, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't think Jets Forever is Zach's mom. I think Zach Jets Forever was around longer than before we drafted Zach, and we had him in our community longer. Also, I think there were times where Jets Forever attacks me simply for saying the truth. Like when I say I don't hate him, I'm wearing his jersey. I want him to turn this around more than anyone. I'm not a hater at all. I'm just a guy who is acknowledging the truth. He hasn't played well. And Jets Forever goes, "You're a hater." I don't think his mom would say that. I think his mom would say, "Give him time; he'll get better." I think she'd be more reasonable than Jets Forever. I honestly do. I think Zach's mom would say, "Thank you for supporting my son." And she probably thinks he just needs more time. That's what she'd be saying.
Now, I wouldn't surprise. Remember BYU fan? I haven't seen him in a minute, but I think BYU fan could be one of Zach's relatives. That would not surprise me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen BYU fan in a while. Anybody seen him?
I haven't seen him. I may have blocked him. I don't know. He got blocked on a lot of channels.
Somehow I'm not shocked by that.
He started ignore. He just started getting. It was too much. Yeah, it was too much. He was out of control.
Yeah, I've been trying to learn. Never miss a good opportunity to shut up.
Yeah. What does this say? He didn't have Hackett. That's true. Well, yeah. I mean, look, Hackett. Yeah, but you said okay, Tico. So I know that definitely they were a great combination, but that's not 100%.
It's a part of it.
Guaranteed. I mean, he's a quarterback coach. He's not out there doing it with them. I mean, yes, we could hope that if he came to the Jets, that Hackett being there would matter, but we don't know 100%. I mean, because I understand he had Hackett those 2 great years. He also had a guy named Devontae Adams. So, I mean, it could be more Devontae Adams, a little, a little something to do with it. I mean, I don't know how much coaching a quarterback has to do for a quarter. I don't know how much a quarterback coach has to do for a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
Especially now. Just design the plays, figure out ways to get guys open. That's your job. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett was helping Aaron Rodgers' footwork or his throwing motion or telling him how to scramble. I don't think that's exactly the OC's job. Rodgers has God-given talent, period.
Now, I do think that it's appealing. Like it's appealing for for Rodgers and Hackett because I mean, think about they're people just like us. You want to be happy in your life. You want to like your job. You want to go to a place where you like people. There's definitely going to be appeal for Aaron Rodgers to think I'm going to get to go to work and be with one of my best friends again, who I obviously really enjoy, and it would be great to win with him again. So it is nice that if we do get Aaron Rodgers to know that he's with a guy who's like, he would want to win one for Hackett. Like he'd want to win one with him, like together, like there's no question about it. So
do you think Aaron, let me ask you a question and let's think about this. Guys, let's take a trip, all of us together, to a scary place called Aaron Rodgers' mind. Which of these things would Aaron Rodgers value the most? Getting a second Super Bowl, winning another MVP, because remember, he talks about those MVPs that he's won, those COVID MVPs, or just making more money, just being in the spotlight playing football.
I honestly don't.
Priorities are.
I honestly don't think it's about money anymore. I mean, everybody wants money, but I don't think he's just money. I mean, I think he has so much money. I think to the point where he's bored. I think
so he can spend it on a darkness retreat.
He's looking to not be bored. He's just, you know what I mean? I mean, like I think he's looking to be like anybody else. He's looking for happiness. He's looking to have fun, right? But I also think that my guess would be, yeah, he's going to get money no matter what. Like, is he gonna would he go someplace because it's $5 million more at this point? With the you know how much he's going to make after his career. I mean, the guy is going to have more money than he can ever spend. I think that he wants to win another Super Bowl, and I think he would love. Like, I honestly believe. I don't think it's about do I want to go to the Jets and win a Super Bowl. Is that what I want? I think his decision is more: will we win a Super Bowl? Do I have a realistic chance to win a Super Bowl? If Aaron Rodgers decides with that team we can go on and win a Super Bowl, of course that means something to him. Do you understand the legend that would be Aaron Rodgers if he comes to New York and wearing Joe Namath's 12 wins a Super Bowl for the New York Jets, not only becoming only the third quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl on for 2 different teams, but to win in New York for the Jets after this franchise's last 40 years, there's no way he wouldn't value that. Like, there's no way that wouldn't be something anybody would want. They will be immortalized in one of the most famous, New York City. I mean, and he will be a legend here.
And that's how you and I think. And to us, it makes all the sense in the world. But we got to remember, this guy has a different mentality, different than any one of us. I do think he's more of an individualist. And you know what? If that ego, if that's one of the things that helped to make him great, God bless him. I'm all for that. But I feel like I don't hear him talk about Super Bowls as much as I do MVPs. And there's something about that doesn't quite sit right with me. And like we said, there aren't, every quarterback we could talk about, there's going to be negatives. I'm not that drunk. No, that was last night. But no, there are, like we said, which flaws, which questions are you willing to take on? Because as Jets fans, we have to face the fact we're going to be better at quarterback next season. The question is, how much better are we going to be at quarterback next season?
Yeah, and Modine, I don't doubt this. I think Modine makes a good point. Yes, that's part of what he's thinking. He might be thinking that. He goes, what if I go to the Jets and it's the Jets? Battered with injuries, horrible luck, jinxed organization. What if I go there and just do nothing?
Mo, you know what that would be? He's like, wow, he really does follow Brett Favre's career.
That might bother him, actually. That might actually bother him. Like maybe he doesn't like it when people say that. Oh, you're following Brett Favre again? Like maybe he doesn't like that.
it would feel very much like that if they didn't make the playoffs. So, but hey, that could be an opportunity to do something that Favre couldn't do, and that's take the Jets to the playoffs. Thanks, Tony. We appreciate it.
We appreciate you, Tony.
Is Streveler still your number one pick for a starting quarterback next season, Tony? I'm just wondering.
I'm sorry?
No, I was wondering if Tony would still want Streveler if he would want him as number one quarterback.
Well, I know he wants Streveler on the team. I mean, I think that Tony made a point. He said instead of paying Lamar $50 million,
right,
you could have 50 Strevelers. 50 Strevelers, a long snapper, a punter, and a field goal kicker.
Would you rather have just as long as none of them are throwing the ball? Fine. Hey, Jeremy, would you rather have to fight one big Streveler or 50 little Strevelers?
That's like the Saturday Night Live sketch. Yeah,
exactly.
Streveler, 15 mini Strevelers, 50 million.
Can you imagine if we played in Chicago and you had like all the Chicago fans? Yeah. So Streveler is going to throw them. I just give the ball to Streveler. And let Streveler throw to Streveler. This is like Bugs Bunny.
What if you had Streveler all by himself playing against 50 Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, Streveler. Streveler. Okay. We're sitting here. People still commenting about other things as we talk about them.
Okay. that Chicago accent, it's not a Chicago accent. It's a Chicago accent. It's only on the south side of Chicago. The first time I went to Lou Malnati's, which is one of the best deep dish pizza places. I know for some people there's no such thing, but you hear the accent. They said, yeah, we really like having the cheese and sausage. I'm like, it's got a freaking U in the word. It's like sausage. And in New York, we overemphasize I think New York took the U and put it there because in New York it's sausage, and in Chicago they forgot the U. It's just sausage. That was quite a move going from New York to New Jersey to Chicago as a teenager. Oh my God.
Oh man. But anyway, I think some people said in the chat money. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is about money anymore. How much was Jeopardy paying him? Like if he wanted to just do Jeopardy, wasn't that millions? Like
it had to be. I mean, it had to be. I mean,
and then like a broadcast booth, like you see how much they're paying like Brady, $30 million a year or something.
Can you really see Rodgers doing commentary? I don't know if he's got that. I could see maybe in a studio sort of thing or doing a radio show, podcast, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, like a Pat McAfee, like what he does.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I want to just hear Rodgers' voice because it's kind of a dull, monotonous voice. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, he's so rich. I can't even imagine, what. Yeah, but Tigo, he's making that money. So it doesn't matter. That's why he won't retire, maybe. But he's making the money, right? The money is happening. I think Green Bay has to pay a lot of it if they trade him. But it doesn't take the money doesn't go away. He's getting the money. I mean, if it was only money, he couldn't, and the only way he can get the money is staying with Green Bay, then he would have made the decision already if it was only money, right? I mean, he's guaranteed he gets $60 million next year. Isn't he guaranteed like another $100 million over the next 2 years total? If he stays in Green Bay.
I have the numbers. I think I put
Yeah, I mean, if it
something
was
up.
only money and he wasn't going to make as much money coming to the Jets, then he just wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Well, yeah, not if he retires, but he's not going to retire then. Like if it was about the money, he would just stay with Green Bay and finish out the next 2 years. I think he wants to win. How could you say he doesn't want to win? He's competitive. He wants to win.
Of course he wants to win, but is it
wants to win?
Yes, of course he wants to win, but is it the most important thing to him? Is
I
team
don't
success
know.
the most important? That's what we don't. Yep, and that's important.
I mean, it depends on what his dreams are and what he needs in his life. Some people want to own their own jet, like a full plane. And maybe they need to make another 60 million. Maybe he's right at that point where he's not that quite there yet. He needs another 60 million. But I don't know. Which does he want more though? I mean, money is always a factor. I get it. But if I said to him, you could have $40 million total, 2 more seasons, and you win 2 Super Bowls, or you could have $80 million, no Super Bowls. I don't know that he takes the $80 million. I think he might take the 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, right now his cap hits for the next 2 seasons are $31 million and $40 million as of now. Now, of course, that could change based off him being traded, cut, whatever else. But it won't be cut. But yeah, but right now it's 31 and 40 for the next 2 years on the cap hit, and then you have the 2 basic void years is what we'll call them.
Now, I don't know about the BYU offensive lineman, but I don't know about the BYU offensive lineman, but I know this, Kay. I agree 100%. I am 100% down on that 13th pick, taking the best possible tackle on the board. I could see us, if a lot go earlier and we don't get our top 2, if Pete is gone and Paris is gone, I could see JD if he values somebody else high. That's, like trading back and getting some capital and getting his guy because he's very good at reading the board like that. I also would be just as excited, maybe even more, if we got that guy Schlitzer, Schmitz.
Wiener Schnitzel.
If we get
John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota. Yes, I know.
If we were to get Schmitz in the second round, like if he's there, if he makes it to us, and we were to secure Schmitz as our center, I would be equally cheering as if we ended up getting one of the tackles like Broderick Jones or Pete or Paris. Like if we get one of those guys, I'll be happy jumping up and down and cheering. And if in the second round we get Schmitz, I will be cheering just as loud, honestly.
And that's a big risk that you take because as we all know, Connor McGovern is a free agent center and probably the best free agent center on the market. Do the Jets take the risk of letting him walk with the expectation they're going to draft a center in the draft, who, by the way, would need to be a plug-and-play center? There's a couple of them. There's JMS, there's Luke Whippler, possibly the guy from Michigan, the guy whose name starts with double O's, who I'm not going to try to pronounce right now. But those are really, there might be one. There's probably one other that's slipping my mind. But that is one of the big risks that Joe Douglas has to think about is what to do at center this offseason. And from what we've heard, Connor McGovern wants to come back to the Jets and be like, okay, Connor, well, here's what we're willing to offer. If you want to be here so bad, then take a nice hometown discount for us.
Do it for a nice $5 to $6 million. Now, I would need Dom C to explain again to me how it would be possible for us to trade picks to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers because in a trade that has to be recognized post June 1st, because Green Bay cannot afford and will not trade him. Like officially the trade has to take place or transpire post June 1st. Now they could say it now. They could say, Jets and Green Bay come to terms on an agreement on a trade that will be proactive on June 1st. What that leaves me saying is, how could we possibly give them the draft pick? Because what if we give them the draft pick for this year and then they back out of the deal? Because you can't officially make the trade, which means there's room to back out of the deal, isn't there? So I would need Dom C to explain that to me. Maybe Tigo could. He's a smart guy. But I don't know, because Tigo sometimes, gets confused because he drinks so much caffeine.
Okay.
So maybe you.
I'll help you out.
Maybe you could explain it.
Let me help you a little bit, okay? So here's the difference pre-June 1st, post-June 1st. If Rodgers was traded before June 1st, Green Bay has $40 million of dead cap money. Okay? That ain't happening. If he's traded after June 1st, the dead money is split as $15 million in 2023 and 24 million in 2024. So it's basically the same money, just spread out over 2 years instead of it all happening at 1 year. But you got to wonder, Green Bay may not mind that because they'd be using Jordan Love, who's still playing on his rookie contract. So yeah, would not involve any draft picks this year. So it's really the same amount of dead money for Green Bay. Is what we're looking at.
So, I mean, basically what Dom C is saying, because I refuse to believe there's no question, there's no possible way Green Bay is trading Rodgers before June 1st. Officially.
Oh, no.
There's no way they're doing it, which tells me that if we do get Rodgers, we're not going to have to pay the piper until next year. But that's good because we need the offensive line help now. We need these draft picks.
And here's the other thing.
We've got to solidify that line to give Rodgers a really, good shot.
And this is the other important thing to think of is if he does get traded, these would be the cap hits for the team that acquires him. 2023, if the Jets trade for him, the cap hit is $15.79 million. That's it. Only 15.79. Tannehill will cost more. Okay. I know there's additional draft capital that you have to give up, but keep that in mind. 2024, $32.5 million. Still more than reasonable. Then it gets crazy. Then 2025, we're looking at $51 million. 26, we're looking at $45.5 million. So if it's just 2 years, so here's the thing. That's why I need 2 years of Aaron Rodgers. Because for a $15.79 million cap hit, that's all you're paying him, you can still keep a lot of players. And that's why we need to know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do if he's going to play. We got to know that before we better know this by, I'd say, March 1st, because free agency officially starts, I believe, March 15th. And Rodgers has to give Green Bay and the league a feel for what he wants to do. And I'll tell you what, if I'm Derek Carr, I'm not signing anything. I'm just visiting teams. I'm just signing until I hear what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Because if Aaron Rodgers isn't retiring, if he's not making himself available, well, all of a sudden I'm the hottest girl at the dance right now, and everybody wants to dance with me. That's my mentality if I'm Derek Carr. So wait it out, see what Rodgers wants to do. Because if Rodgers doesn't want to play, Derek Carr's asking price just went up even further.
Yeah. Now you're saying that Green Bay. I understand Green Bay could eat the $40 million. I just don't see it.
I don't think they would.
I just don't see it. I just don't see them eating that extra money. Quick. I mean, they still got to run a team. They still got to try to get good and sign free agents. They still got to do things like that. I mean, they'll get the picks in the future. Why wouldn't they want to? You know what I mean? Like if they could just as easily just take the picks for the future and build at that point.
Yeah. As of right now, the Packers have $3 million in salary cap space, so they're in okay shape. But they can't really indulge on a whole lot of other big contracts. And Rodgers and their two biggest earners are Rodgers and Bakhtiari, which I guess we shouldn't be too surprised about.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's possible they would do it, but is it worth it that much? Is our first round pick this year instead of next year worth $40 million?
Yeah. Paying him $40 million, you'd be paying him more to not be on the team than you would for him to be on the team.
It seems far-fetched.
Think about that. Would Green Bay really do that?
It seems far-fetched to me.
I can't see it happen.
Why wouldn't they just take the picks for next year?
Yeah. So because Rodgers cap, I think is what, 32 million with Green Bay, but they would have to pay him $40 million to not be on the team if they chose to trade him pre-June 1st. That'd be pretty wild.
Tigo thinks, he's always so controversial. Yes, you eat the $40 million and take 13, but they could take picks. I guess because, I see what Tigo's saying. We might win a lot of games, and then the pick won't be as juicy. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I mean, and how do we feel about that? I mean, I guess we have to suck it up. I mean, if we don't get Carr, and you're telling me we can get Aaron Rodgers for 13 and maybe a third-round pick next year or conditional second or something like that, I think we have to do it. Like, I know we have to do it, but it sucks Then we have to wait to the second round, and then of course we're going to grab, an offensive lineman there. Maybe we grab the center because if we don't sign McGovern, we have to take a center.
Yeah, we do.
We have no choice.
Yep.
So, although Rodgers wouldn't cost as much, so suddenly there might be some money free, and we lose 13, but we might be able to use the money we save because Rodgers wouldn't be as expensive as Carr. I think, right? Because I don't think he'd
for this year, yeah.
Right.
In terms of the cap hit, I mean, Carr will cost you at least twice what Rodgers will on the salary cap.
So that could be the trade-off. We can go
you're
out
keeping your
and
draft capital. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So what do you value more, the $15-20 million or the possible draft picks?
I'm always a draft guy when you got a guy like that might slip. When you got a guy like Broderick or Pat or Paris or any of those guys.
And when you have Joe Douglas running the draft.
When you have Joe Douglas doing the running of it. But I could live with you got Aaron Rodgers, you lost 13, but you have $20 million more than you would have to go out and get somebody. I think for $20 million, we can go out and get a tackle that we could live with. And then we could, in the second round, draft the center, because there's a few of them that are plug and play, ready to play. There is, one of them will be there. And then we got the center, we bought the tackle, and now you have Aaron Rodgers, and you freaking go for it, man. This is, it's all or nothing. You're all in. The next 2 years, you're all in. You're trying to win a Super Bowl.
To think that we're talking about a move that could put the Jets into Super Bowl contention when this time 12 months ago, we were just looking for a way to get into playoff contention. But the fact that the Jets right now, I think they have the 9th best odds to win next year's Super Bowl, it seems crazy right now, but there is a lot of speculation that this could work. And, something's going to happen. And no matter what, I think it may not be the guy you want because every Jets fan out there has the player that they want. They have the quarterback in mind that they think would fit best. A lot of us are not going to be happy with what happens. But I want to say this, even if it doesn't turn out to be the guy that you want, we know we're going to get better quarterback play than we did this past season. I'm going to say that again. And then it's a matter of upgrading the other few positions that really need to be upgraded. And we have a general manager who could do it.
Yeah. Now, as far as Raiders, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers believes he wins the Super Bowl if he's on the Raiders.
Why would I want to face Mahomes and Herbert twice a year for one thing?
I mean, when he looks,
and now the Rex Ryan defense, worst of all,
Right now, we were better than the Raiders last year.
Yeah.
Right. And he would be a bigger improvement. Like it would be a bigger jump from what we had last year at quarterback to Rodgers than it would be Carr to Rodgers. So Rodgers would have to think, yeah, I'm better than Carr, but not nearly as much better than Carr as I am against any quarterback the Jets had last year. So the Jets were a better team than the Raiders, and I'm the much bigger jump. Whereas with the Raiders, I'm a smaller jump, and they were a worse team. So he definitely has a better chance at winning a Super Bowl with the Jets than the Raiders when you use that logic.
I mean, I would agree. Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, again, that defense. I mean, that Raider defense. Not good. I mean, sure, the Raiders have some weapons, but the Jets have some weapons too. And also, I mean, Robert Saleh. He may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'll tell you what football fan wants Josh McDaniels as their head coach over Robert Saleh?
Yeah, and it's I'm having trouble seeing it. Like the more I think about it, and then I mean, it's not a money thing because the Raiders are cheap, the owners are cheap, but Rodgers is actually economical. He's cheaper than Carr would have been, so it would make sense that they would want Rodgers. But I honestly don't see the Raiders with Aaron Rodgers being a real threat to teams like Buffalo and Kansas City and the top teams in the AFC. I don't think the defense would keep them in it. I think the other teams' defenses would slow Rodgers down enough because Rodgers is not Superman. Don't forget, Rodgers gets shut down by great defenses. We see it all the time. I mean, what we're hoping is what we're going to offer Rodgers is a great defense in our own right. So even if we're playing against a team against Buffalo that's not going to give us a ton of points, well, we're hoping that our running game is going to be better than the Packers had, and that Breece Hall will come back and be special, and he'll have that going for him. But also, he'll have a defense to keep him in the game.
I actually thought the Green Bay running game was very disappointing this season. I expected more from Aaron Jones and a lot more from AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon to
Oh,
me is
Chico is reminding me that cash-wise, I'm talking cap, but
yeah,
cash-wise, he would be due $60 million, and he's right. And the Raiders own. I mean, unless they're lying, unless they're just crying, unless they're lying, the Raiders owners don't have Davis doesn't have money, or he's just too cheap and they don't want to part with the money. So
hard to imagine. But the quick comparison I was going to make, AJ Dillon reminds me of Sean Green. You don't notice him for about 14, 15 weeks, and then in December, that's when he finally starts to run hard. Yeah, I definitely think that the offense would be a big. Rodgers would be playing with a better offense if he goes to the Jets. I think he is going to elevate both Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims and make them the receivers that we all wanted them to be. And, he does a lot with tight ends. I can't even begin to imagine what he could do with Tyler Conklin going down the field, what he could do with Jeremy Ruckert. Who knows? We know Jeremy Ruckert can block, but I think it'd be really, really interesting to see what kind of receiver he could be with number 12 throwing him the ball.
Now, I'm going to say something that's going to piss Tigo off. Not piss him off, but he's going to completely disagree with. I think Aaron Rodgers would make Braxton Berrios a lot better. I think he would bring him back to his best football, like when he was playing his best football. I think he'd be a good weapon for Rodgers. I just see it. I think you'd replace that guy that Rodgers likes right now at Green Bay. Who's that third receiver that they have that he likes so much, that he's buddies with?
The third receiver that's on the team now, or
the Green Bay had a receiver, the one that wasn't a rookie, that Lazard or something.
You're talking about Alvin Lazard?
Yeah, I think he would make Berrios that kind of guy. Think
they had Marquez Valdez-Scantling up until recently too. I don't know if you might have meant.
I meant Lazard, but I think that he would.
Lazard's an outside receiver. Lazard's like a big guy. I don't know if that's the guy.
I mean, I just think he'd make Berrios better. Also, like we're talking about, Garrett Wilson obviously would go to 1,500 yards and be ridiculous, and Elijah Moore would be the biggest.
Randall Cobb. You meant Cobb. You were talking about Randall Cobb, weren't you?
No, I was talking about Lazard.
You were talking about Lazard. Okay, because you meant the slot. Okay.
I'm thinking more of like a slot kind of thing. But I honestly think Elijah Moore would take a giant leap. I think Berrios would go back to what he was the first year. And rebound and be back to what he was in 21 when he was really good at the end and we got excited and signed him. And I think Garrett Wilson would be would emerge now, not just rookie of the year, but then take the next step and emerge as one of the elite wide receivers in the NFL. If you gave him Aaron Rodgers, how could it, he'd get 100 receptions.
I got to be honest with you. I mean, for me, even, as much as we all like Berrios, we were so happy when he came back. He may have been the most disappointing outside of Laken Tomlinson. But I just don't understand Berrios's fall off. He had a few good plays early in the season.
Play.
Not only that, but his return game, it wasn't the same. He was misjudging punts, stuff like that. Aaron Rodgers is not going to fix that. To me, I'm open to saving the $5 million, letting him go because I feel like you could draft a player. You got to save money somewhere.
We're going to lose Berrios and Corey Davis. I mean, I'm not worried about.
I'd rather restructure Corey Davis.
I'm not worried about special teams because we got Bam Knight. We're fine with special teams.
Right, and you can get like a little fast, shifty guy. You can get that later in the draft. Those guys are around. They're available. You can get them as an undrafted free agent. But my preference would be to restructure Corey Davis, and if he doesn't restructure, then you can let him go. That's my preference. I don't want to give him the same money, but I would give him one more guaranteed year. Because when he does play, we see he's capable.
I would love it if we could restructure Corey Davis at a more affordable price.
Okay.
But it has to be a really affordable price because it's been an issue. He can't stay on he hasn't been able to stay on the field. Yep. I mean, the drops I'm not thrilled about, but people only remember the drops. He also made a lot of great plays.
Oh, yeah.
He was also sometimes our most reliable receiver. He's a big target. I'm fine with it, but we got to get him at a much better price. And the question is, the only way to do that is what are we realistically estimating? What is another NFL team going to pay Corey Davis?
the way
His
the wide
numbers
receiver.
don't look that impressive.
That's the thing. See, that's the thing. The wide receiver contracts we've seen are going up. And to those who just want to replace him, I understand the injury concerns and I'm with it. That's why I'm talking about restructuring as opposed to cutting him. But the wide receiver free agent class is bad this year. Outside of Alan Lazard, who's getting you excited? Juju? Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, and Juju is slot, and we have Elijah Moore.
Exactly. But these are the wide receivers you'll see like on top 50 or top 100 free agent lists. And I'm sorry, I'm not getting excited by these guys. But do you want to use another premium draft pick on a wide receiver? And if you want to, then that's great. But then you have less of an opportunity to upgrade the offensive line. Plus, if we trade for Aaron Rodgers, there's a chance that's one less premium pick we're going to have come the end of April. So to me, I don't really know if there's a better option unless you're going all out for Lazard, and that's coming with Aaron Rodgers. I could deal with that. Outside of him, I would want to keep number 84 on this team.
And I don't think Lazard would cost that much.
Okay.
If you talk to a Green Bay fan, I've talked to a Green Bay fan, and this is from the mouth of a Green Bay fan. They're like, he's our number 3 guy. He's not a premier receiver. I mean, that's why we have the rookies. That's what, like, he's a role player wide receiver. He's not a big role wide receiver.
No, and that's why. And see, think of the difference between him and Carl Lawson. Both good to very good players, I would say. Good solid free agents. I mean, not home runs, maybe like DJ Reed. I'm still convinced that Lawson's injury, just derailed whatever we would have seen from him. But why are we so willing to let Lawson go? Because we have a pipeline in place. Because we have Jermaine Johnson. Because we have Bryce Huff. Because we have Michael Clemens. We have young talent that has shown that it can play and produce consistently. We don't have that at wide receiver. Denzel Mims has not proven it yet. He still has not even caught a touchdown in the NFL that wasn't a final preseason game, right? So if Mims was there, I'd be more open to moving on. But Mims hasn't proven himself yet. So that's why I'm more inclined to hold on to Corey Davis.
Yeah, and Tame My McDaniel is saying
McDaniel.
Oh,
how many ways are the Daniel, the captain?
Tame My McDaniel.
Oh my God!
Tommy McDaniel. Oh, the Jets. I'm being like the guy from Key and Peele. The Jets need younger and cheaper draft wide receivers. The problem with the draft is a wide receiver in the draft is we can't use we need offensive line. So where are you going to draft a wide receiver? 3rd, 4th round? There's no guarantee they're going to
need safety, need linebacker, and I still say we need defensive tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see. Look, I mean, they've surprised me. I'm never going to say never about anything. If we end up picking a wide receiver high somehow, or trade up our 2nd round pick and into the back of the first, and we take some wide receiver that JD loves, as shocked as I'll be, and as much as I think it doesn't make sense, I'm going to be excited about it because JD knows what he's doing, so I'm going to be excited about it. Right. But I'm going to really have questions. I'm going to be sitting there going, what are we going to do?
Outside of him maybe drafting like a running back in the 1st round, there isn't much he could do that'd be like, what the hell is he thinking right now?
Right. Like after taking Sauce Gardner and then taking Breece Hall in that early pick in the 2nd round, like there's no longer any surprises. Sauce Gardner, as much I love the pick, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm thrilled now, and that was the greatest draft ever. But it's freaking shocking when you think about it. It was the last thing I thought was going to happen. Like I'll admit it. I was so off on that. I said, there's no way we're taking a cornerback. And now I can't even imagine life without Sauce Gardner as a Jet. Like I can't even imagine being a Jet fan. I can't imagine the Jets. I can't imagine this team without Sauce Gardner. He's our identity. He is our identity. And I think Breece Hall was going to be that too, but he got hurt.
I think that's more than fair. And we haven't had an identity in a while. Well, not a positive one anyway. But yeah, I mean, for what you could say about the Jets, it's like I actually heard somebody say the Jets don't really have an identity. I said, yeah, they can rush the passer and they can cover. That's the identity right now. Now, we had an offensive identity that was coming together until number 20 and number 75 went out for the season in the same quarter. And after that, it was never the same. It wasn't close to being the same, but the offense was working. It was really being productive. And but we lost our two best offensive players. And I have every confidence AVT will come back ready to go from the beginning. Brees, not as sold on that because with a running back, sometimes it does take a little bit more time. Like you can still play, but you may not quite have that explosiveness. And I'm going to say it again with Michael Carter, James Robinson, who I think there's a good chance he'll be back, Bam Knight, Ty Johnson. We have plenty of capable running backs, but we do need a better offensive line when it comes to run blocking. Because think about, can you imagine for all the flack people want to give Mekhi Becton, and I understand why, but can you imagine replacing Dwayne Brown with him in terms of his run blocking ability? You just went from a jalopy to a Corvette when you're doing that. Dwayne Brown could not run block. He couldn't run block you or me last season. Bless him, he played, I know he played hurt, but he couldn't run block. Mekhi Becton is a beast in the run blocking game, and I still think, if you put a healthy Becton next to Tomlinson, Tomlinson's game will get better. It's hard for it to imagine it getting much worse. But, man, Becton coming back, that would do so much for this team. So much.
Yeah. So Bang Mateo comes in. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Really do, man. Thank you so much for that. Let's get Carr. Is a longer shelf life, and we don't have to worry about, Rodgers retiring. I think that there's something to say there. It's a much different approach than people think, because Rodgers is it's amazing because we go back and forth that the Jets could do either one, but it's both. Either move is so different than each other, because I know like in the immediate moment, we're getting a competent quarterback. Same thing. What are you talking about? But it's a very different strategy moving forward for the organization, because one is going to be a longer term. Like, I mean, I'm sure JD, if he works out a contract with Carter, they're able to come. It's not going to be you're stuck for 4 years. It's going to be 3 years, that you're stuck, because we know JD. But we'll have the option for at least 4 years, right? It'll be like a 4-year thing, and he'll probably be our quarterback for 4 years. And maybe even longer if he does well. Like we extend them along the way, restructure and extend. Where with Rodgers, we know it's short term. We know it's 1, maybe 2 years. With Carr, it's done. Like for this whole cycle, these cycle of draft picks, this run at it, Derek Carr's the guy if we sign him. Whereas with Aaron Rodgers, there's still a chance there's going to be another quarterback in the future that's not named Aaron Rodgers with these same players, because we don't know how long he'll stay. And, and that's also a very strong concern. I'm sure Bang Mateo, you only get to write so much, is you're going to trade draft capital. You're going to give away number 13, possibly, or first round next year. And then Rodgers freaking plays 1 year and leaves, and we don't win a Super Bowl. All we have is regret.
And to me, like Lamar Jackson is the worst of both worlds, because he could potentially have a short shelf life. Plus, you're paying a whole lot more for him, and you're paying the draft capital, and you have to give him the huge contract. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's why Jackson is just not. To me, is not a consideration.
It's
at least with Rodgers. Yeah. To me, with Rodgers, if he's on the field, I mean, Rodgers doesn't miss games for one thing. That's what I mean. He's durable, and so is Carr. And those are two of my favorite things. The Jets don't have durable quarterbacks. We have shown. When was the last time we had a quarterback who played a full season? I mean, was it Fitzpatrick?
Yeah,
I think that's the last time. I really do.
He's the last tough, durable quarterback we've had.
So there you go. Yeah. So
Sanchez was pretty available, right, for the 4 years.
Yeah, he was for the most part. Going back a few years prior to that, but yeah, that's why to me Rodgers and Carr. It's another reason why they just are a cut above. Not only the upside, because Derek Carr nearly won an MVP 1 year, and people talk about the playoff success, the lack of playoff success. Well, they were going to Houston 1 year, and the Raiders were probably the second or third best team in the AFC that year. But then Carr gets hurt, out for the season, and they played that game with Matt McGloin at quarterback. I'll pause a moment so everybody can Wikipedia him. Yeah, and they just never had a chance. Houston won the game, and I guarantee you, the Raiders would have won at least one playoff game, maybe more, if Carr wasn't hurt. So I just don't feel like he had. And the only game he did lose was to Cincinnati and that was during their journey over to the Super Bowl now 2 seasons ago. So it's not like he lost to a scrub or anything like that.
So he goes, "Who do you want? You want no one? I don't know if you're talking to us. I'm going to be happy if we sign Rodgers. I'm going to be happy if we sign Rodgers. If we get Rodgers, I'll be happy. If we sign Derek Carr, I'll be happy. I'll be very happy if we get. Those are definitely my top two in either order. But I'm just acknowledging some of the challenges of getting them. It's not the thing we needed was for Zach to pan out. So now we're in a situation, no matter who we get, there's these negatives that we never have to worry about or face if Zach would have panned out. So look, it's always going to come back to that. It's always going to come back to that. We're always, I mean, if we win a Super Bowl, we won't care. But if we don't, we're always going to wonder what could have been if we could have gotten a quarterback with that draft pick. Because everything would have been different because we wouldn't be having these conversations. We wouldn't be compromising money or draft capital or anything. So it sucks. And we're acknowledging that it sucks. We're acknowledging that no matter what we do, it sucks because the plan was Zach Wilson was supposed to be the guy.
So disappointing that happened. I just hope that no matter what happens when Joe Douglas leaves the Jets, hopefully not for another 15 to 20 years, but whenever that time comes, I just hope his epitaph doesn't read, got us a lot of players, made the team respectable again, but just couldn't solve the quarterback problem. That's my fear. But he could do it this year. And you know what? You may never have a chance to get somebody as great as Aaron Rodgers has been in his career. This is a once-in-a-generation thing. The New York Jets don't get players like this. Okay, we don't get Sauce Gardners, like the guys who is widely considered the best available prospect in the draft. When we get like all-time greats, we get Ronnie Lott, we get Art Monk, guys who have 1 year left to go. And Rodgers may only have 1 or 2 years left. But for that position, with what he's done in recent years, to me, the chance is worth it. I don't want to draft a punter, or wait, I really don't. For one thing, we don't have a 7th-round pick as of yet. And you can get a punter off the scrap heap. I'm not interested in that.
The reason we won't draft a punter is you just said it. We don't have a 6th and a 7th-round pick.
We have a 6th-round pick.
We don't have a 6th-round pick, so we're not drafting a punter.
185.
But and because punters are available. I mean, we replaced Braden Mann with a punter when he was hurt, who was perfectly fine, and that could have been our punter. But for some reason, when Mann got healthy, we cut that punter. What was his name?
Thomas Morstead.
Morstead. We should have kept Morstead. It made no sense. We should have kept Morstead. And we didn't. And that's it. And that has to go down as a mistake. And you have to, it's probably not even Joe Douglas. It's probably the special teams coach that has to take accountability for that. And didn't we just fire him? So
I don't think Boyer was fired. I don't know. He isn't gone. He isn't gone yet.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me try to help you, Nolte. This is a tricky one. Hopefully, this.
Okay, but I do want to give Nolte a hug, though, like an internet hug. Oh, Nolte, you salty. Oh, you salty Nolte. You're giving super chats now.
Three-way bro hug. Okay, so if the team, I'm going to try to. Hopefully, this will answer your question. It's the best I can do for right now. If the team acquiring Rodgers wanted to release him next offseason before the second option bonus. So the way I'm reading this, if the Jets were to release him after this coming season, it would be $43.725 million in dead cap money as a pre-June 1st cut. So $43 million. It's the same amount of money pre-June 1st or post-June 1st. This actually sounds familiar to Green Bay trading him. If they cut him post-June 1st, it would be $14.575 million in 2024 and $29.15 million in 2025. So that's after 1 year. I'll try to look up 2 years for you, but that's if they cut him after one season.
What if we never cut him and he retires after a year or two?
Yeah, that's one thing I kind of.
We're not going to cut Aaron Rodgers, especially if it's coming.
I can find it.
The reality is that Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. So we need to check, what are we getting ourselves into if he retires? Are we trapping ourselves or do we owe nothing?
I wish you'd asked me this like 3 weeks ago when I still had like the papers and everything like that, but I got rid of them. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
look, Tammy's got it nailed. I mean, like, there's 100 million reasons why Aaron Rodgers is going to play the next 2 years. That's for sure. The question is after that, if he plays the 2 years for us and he retires, does that hurt us?
I think there would be a dead cap hit. I'm positive there is. I just got to see.
It can't be that bad. I mean, otherwise, there's no way we.
Uh,
There's no way we're going to give real draft capital and then set our future up to suck. Tigo says he has a contract for 2 years. After those 2 years, we either take a 60 million dead cap for 1 year, or we can split that up and take 30 million for 2 years back to back. I don't want him now. That sucks. Like, what? If he plays for 2 years and retires, we have to pay him 30 million for 2 years and take the cap hit? That absolutely sucks.
Okay. This is now, I don't know if the trade situation would change it, but this is what I'm reading. This is on CBS Sports. If Rodgers were to retire in 2025, is this really? This seems too crazy. This I can't even fathom this, but I'll try.
What's up?
The Packers would be dealing with $76 million of dead cap money if Rodgers retires in 2025. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, man. That's why they're trading him. That's why we can't trade number one first round draft picks. Bullshit. We're taking on a tremendous liability for 2 years.
Unless the whole thing can be restructured. But the question is, why would he do it?
Yeah, there's no way.
Unless it's get more money up front or something like that.
There's no way this makes sense for us. There's no way. 30 million for 2 seasons. That if we don't win a Super Bowl, then the whole rebuild is to trash because now we're 30 million stuck in for 2 different years. That's crazy. That kills us. I'm not trading them first round picks then. I mean, I would do it with like a third round pick and maybe a second round pick next year because screw it. Let's take a shot at the Super Bowl and then, okay, we'll take for 2 years. It's going to suck. But I'm not giving away a first round pick and a second round pick. And then we got to give away 30 million and 30 million. That's bullshit, man.
Yeah, it says here, so this is against the Packers salary cap. So I don't know if it would change if he was traded. But for 2024, it's projected to be, we talked about 15 million and then the 30 million. But if he stays with Green Bay, it'd be 40 million in 24, 59 million in 25, and 53 million in 26. You know that's not going to drop too significantly if he's traded.
Yeah, I'm not liking it, man. I mean,
it's scary, but unfortunately, it is not it is not a situation where if he retires, then we're free and clear. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
It just sounds like shit to me, man. The whole thing.
Yeah,
is
15, yeah. So our cap hit, again for the next 4 years would be, now it could change based off different things, but 15 million, 32 million, 51 million, 45 million. So it keeps going up. The first 2 years are more than manageable. The last 2 years are scary. Close to $100 million between 2025 and 2026.
Why was I don't think Downing is going to matter much with.
Downing, is this because of the DUI that he had recently?
Yeah, I don't know that it's going to matter much because Hackett, and we got the Brady guy, we got the amazing.
We got Carter. We got
Carter. We got an amazing run game coordinator.
Finally,
I mean, maybe Carter likes to work with Downing and says he's a good guy. I don't know. I mean, look, they had Tannehill and they look pretty good their passing game for a team that has Tannehill. So
isn't it nice for the first time the Jets have a run game coordinator and a pass game coordinator? Finally getting with football in the 2020s.
It's crazy. But Bang Mateo, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. And again, another super chat. So we truly appreciate it. Yeah.
Super chats cut the line. Always wanted to say that.
It also keeps the lights on. Always wanted to say that. The cap will explode.
That is true. The cap will be going.
I'm not going to say it wouldn't mean anything. I mean, you're right. Well, okay, maybe that means what it means is we're going to be $30 million less than everybody else to sign players. Like, it's going to cost us some talent, but it sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck if we win a Super Bowl. I mean, but it's kind of weird because I thought Joe Douglas really built this team for long, sustained success. I thought we were going to be like Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Philly, and this would be very much.
This is Sean Marks getting Kyrie and Kevin Durant. That's what like this is.
This
building the culture with like Spencer Dinwiddie and Jared Allen and Karis LeVert and Joe Harris and all these kinds of guys. But then this comes off. Oh, screw culture.
Yeah, it feels very much. It feels very much like a
selling your soul. Yeah, it's
tremendous gamble. Tremendous gamble.
Because eventually you gotta win. Eventually you gotta win.
Don't forget when Rodgers' dead cap money hits, Sauce, Garrett, Brees rookie deals will be up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These things are. Yeah, John, it's a good point.
Plus, we got to pay Michael Clemens $20 million.
We got a ton of people. Well, not I don't know how much we're going to pay him, but we got a ton of people that we're going to have to pay. That's what happens when you draft superstars. We're not going to be able to sign them all, but hopefully, we'll get those good comp picks. I mean, that was the whole idea of drafting well. And you start suddenly people approaching your guys. You're losing free agents because you have so many good players and. You know, the way to maintain is you get comp picks and you use them well.
That's right.
You know, buying Mateo with another super chat. Thanks again, John Nolte. You guys are just keeping the lights on for Cut the Line. Super chats cut the line. Well, we hired a pass coordinator. That never was.
When did pass game coordinators and run game coordinators start to become a thing? Like 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not going to. He's also the wide receivers coach, right?
He's been. I'll tell you exactly what he's been. I'll go through this relatively quick. Offensive quality control coach in Minnesota, 05. Defensive assistant, special teams assistant, defensive quality control coach, offensive quality control coach, assistants quarterback coach with 3 different NFL teams.
Oh, that's good.
Offensive coordinator with both the Raiders and the Titans. And tight ends coach with both Minnesota and Tennessee. He's had every single job you could have in offense, basically, that you can ever want.
He's an offensive mind. So maybe, I mean, I don't think he's going to make or break us, Bang. He might not be value. He might not help the team be better. He might not be one of those special assistant coaches that secretly under the radar is helping us and doing great things. He's not going to hurt us.
He's been an offensive coach in the NFL since 2009.
I mean, for all we know, he could be Zach Wilson's guy. They might be sticking him on Zach Wilson.
In that case, I'd be building a Todd Downing statue if that was the case.
No, I'm saying they might be putting him with Zach Wilson. They might that might be one of his main roles. Like Hackett might not have time.
That is one of the biggest things. Now, I don't know if Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh talked about it, but in terms of what Zach Wilson's offseason plan's going to be, what are they going to do to try to make him better? Did you ever hear anything they said regarding that?
No.
Because I didn't. And to me, that is like the number one question, to ask. It's like, what are you going to do? What is the plan to get Zach resembling something of an NFL quarterback again? Yeah, I wonder what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Is he training with John Beck again? I mean, who knows?
See, I don't agree with this because he didn't have the same weapons because he's a different kind of quarterback and they built a different team around him. They would get rid of wide receivers for trade value, right? They traded away guys because they were a tight end running team. I don't know. We don't know for sure what Lamar Jackson would be on a team built with wide receivers. I mean, we would still offer him hopefully a good offensive line, but we keep saying it in theory, but and JD has tried, but it hasn't happened.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong, Minnesota Jets fan. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't know that we're better for Lamar. I don't know that we're designed better for him at all.
And I am curious about injury-prone offense. Does that just mean that Lamar's running? Does that make it an injury-prone offense? I mean, it's an interesting phrase that you chose to use. It just has me thinking a little bit. Yeah, I definitely agree that he's never had the weapons outside of Mark Andrews. Outside of that, Hollywood Brown's good, but you know what? There's plenty of guys better than Hollywood Brown. Andrews to me is the only elite weapon they've ever really had.
Yeah,
on that team.
Yeah. Sure, but
we talked about Berrios. Yeah, we spent a few minutes on BB for sure.
But Baltimore was by design. You got to look at the overall roster, and the overall roster is Baltimore put a really, Baltimore's a really good roster. I mean, come on.
Oh,
Before
yeah.
last year, they were one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. I mean, he played with a great roster. It might not be. Now we're different, and he might look different with us. I mean, who knows? Maybe he would light it up with Garrett Wilson. I mean, and Elijah Moore. I don't know. It's unproven, so it's just an unknown.
And to me, he just hasn't proven he can consistently win games from the pocket. He needs his legs to be at his best, and he's missed the end of the last couple seasons, like you talked about, because of lower body injuries. I'm much more worried about quarterbacks with lower body injuries who need their legs to make them work. That's why I'm more worried about Jackson's injury history than I am Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not saying Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Jackson, but I am saying that Jackson's future, I think, could actually be murkier than Jimmy G's. Might be controversial, but that's how I'm feeling right now. Cap goes up for every team. They can sign 2 elite level players. They could, but they got to clear some cap space first. And to me, you have some good linebackers. You have some good safeties out there on the market. Wide receiver, I'm not impressed with at all. I'll be doing some stuff on free agency soon.
Hey, Modine, and Modine, I think I'm more afraid of Philadelphia. I think I'm more afraid of Philadelphia's future than I am Kansas City, honestly. And I'll tell you why. Because you're saying Patrick Mahomes, but I don't think.
Okay, then let's just not have an AFC. Let's not have an AFC for the next 10 years.
I think Mahomes is a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I say you take Andy Reid's not getting any younger. I say no Andy Reid, no Super Bowl. I'm sorry. I think Patrick Mahomes is great, but it's the defense also. It's the running. It's everything. It's Andy Reid as much as it is Mahomes. And when you break up that tandem, if they don't bring in it's not going to be easy shoes to fill. I'm not saying that Mahomes won't get any more Super Bowls, but I'm not going to call him the next Brady yet. He's not dominating. They barely got through that game. You take away that absolute ridiculous holding call that wasn't a hold, and the Eagles have a chance to win that game too. I mean, that was a neck and neck game, and I'm not putting down Mahomes. Mahomes is the best in the NFL, but I don't know that he's Brady that's going to win 7 Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. I'm just saying like it's a big statement.
Cincinnati beat them.
It's a big statement to say that Kansas City is going to win 7 that Patrick Mahomes is going to win 7 Super Bowls.
If that's your attitude, then find an NFC team to root for or become a Chiefs fan.
But you're talking about a quarterback who played for over 20 years, who's the greatest to ever play, and won 7 Super Bowls. It was astronomically higher than anyone else. To sit there and think that automatically that Mahomes is going to do that's a little crazy. I'm not saying he's not going to win another one. He might even win 2, and that would be amazing. 4 is amazing. 4 is incredible. 4 is Hall of Fame, one of the greatest to ever live and do it. But to sit there and think that Kansas City is just going to run and rule the AFC and be unbeatable for the next bunch of years, I don't believe that at all.
It's hard to keep teams together nowadays, because eventually everybody wants to get their money, Right. So
I mean, they're not dominating.
They won so many close games. Kansas City was the ultimate win but don't cover team. They barely beat Houston.
Right, I don't understand why. It seems like you're thinking like you're arguing with me. I am not saying that Mahomes is not a generational talent. I'm not saying that Mahomes is not a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying that Mahomes is not going to be recognized as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. But even Tom Brady, in 20 plus years, who won more Super Bowls than any quarterback in history, it was 7 in 20 something years. So what I'm saying is, it's a bold statement to sit there and say that Mahomes is going to be unbeatable every year for the next 5 years or something. And he's going to win as many Super Bowls. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very bold to argue it when no one in history has done it except one player.
Who also lost 3, by the way.
Who
also lost 3. Just want to point that out.
Who also lost 3. But I mean, I'm not saying that they're yes, Kansas City, as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback of that team and he's healthy, Kansas City is a perennial contender. They're going to be it every year. But you're going to see years like every other team, like New England, Belichick and Brady, same thing. You're going to see years where teams are going to beat them. Like you just said, Cincinnati beat them. Like you just said it, Cincinnati beat them last year. I mean, so yeah, they're going to win more Super Bowls? Probably. I don't know how many, but am I going to sit there and say every AFC team should just wave the white flag and we have no chance? No.
In that case,
like in other words, we have to go out and try to be better and beat Kansas City.
And we'll get a chance to do it this year, won't we? In our building. We get our shot at them.
Yeah.
It'll be a hell of a measuring stick. I can't wait to find out when that game's going to be in the schedule.
Yeah. I mean, and there's been other quarterbacks who we felt that way about, that felt like they were dominant. And oh my God, how are they ever going to lose? And they have on and off years. I mean, and we don't know that Kansas City is going to maintain the defense. Like, we just don't know, because it's like they are also very good because of their coach. You know what I mean? They're very good because of their coach. You can't take away from Andy Reid. This is not the first team he's won a Super Bowl with. This is one of the premier all-time great coaches. You know, like, and he's getting older and he doesn't look too healthy to me. This guy, I don't know. The guy, I looked at him when he was accepting that Lombardi trophy. I said, you know, this guy might want to try keto or something. You know? You know what I mean? He doesn't look like a healthy. He doesn't look like the kind of guy. I'm sorry. I mean, if I was him, he's got a lot of money and success. Man, freaking take care of yourself. You know, he was interviewed. You know what he did when he got back to Kansas City? He went to his favorite pizza place,
pepperoni and mushroom. I heard it.
And ate a pepperoni mushroom pizza. Maybe he should be.
But he had a salad. He had a salad with it. Now, I don't know how many croutons or bacon or how much dressing was on the salad, but there were apparently some form of lettuce involved in the salad. So,
yeah, I mean, I think there's always been, every generation, there's been great players, but there's always been openings and opportunities for any team in any year to win a Super Bowl. Like, if you build a great team, which the Jets are doing, we got some great weapons, we got some great young talent. There's always an opportunity. Now, I agree, it would be very hard for the Jets to dominate the AFC for the next 5 years because Kansas City has Patrick Mahomes. I get it. But next year, if we go into the AFC Championship game and we play against Kansas City and Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr is our quarterback and our defense has another year of playing elite, I'm not going to go in there and say we have no chance to beat them. Come on, we got Garrett Wilson. Maybe we're there because we have a great Breece Hall. Maybe our offensive line finally got it together, and maybe we're an amazing team. Why am I going to sit there and say that we can't? That's crazy to me. I mean, is it going to be easy? No, it's going to be really freaking hard. But guess what? It's always hard. That's why we haven't won a Super Bowl in my lifetime, because it's freaking hard.
And now we see the plan. The question is, how much are we willing to deviate from the plan? Because now we've had to switch from it. Because now we need a quarterback. I'll read David. I'll give the picks up for a shot to win. Who cares? We're used to garbage anyway. Why does it even matter? Gosh. Okay, so here's
a different situation. They were like very close already.
They had just about everything that they needed. They just had to bring in 2 or 3 pieces. They had to bring in Matt Stafford. They brought in like OBJ. They made 1 or 2 other moves as well.
We're getting there. We're getting there, though. We're getting to the point where we could become the Rams and get some rentals just to try to win a Super Bowl.
We're not there yet.
But we're not there yet because we won 7 games last year. We're not there yet. No. We got to be a playoff team before we can say we're ready to try to put the whipped cream on top of the sundae.
That sounds good about now. No, but I think that I guess one of my biggest gripes is when I see Jets fans talking about how bad we are at drafting, that we've been bad for the last 15, 20 years at drafting. It doesn't matter what Mike McCagnon did. It doesn't matter what John Idzik did. It doesn't matter what Mike Tannenbaum did in relation to what Joe Douglas did. It's like, okay, we missed out on this pick, so yeah, we should. It's like the second round curse of the Jets. It doesn't matter anymore because Joe Douglas didn't pick the Jason Morrows of the world or the Stephen Hills of the world. I mean, every GM, every coach, they need to be looked at independently. That's just one little thing that I've been seeing lately that's got to stop. That's just got to stop.
I agree.
Bang, Rodgers won't get us a Super. Bang, who will?
No.
Who will?
No. Listen. I agree. Rodgers will not get us a Super Bowl. Do you know what will get us a Super Bowl? An elite defense, a great offensive line with a healthy Breece Hall that stays healthy, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, great weapons, and Aaron Rodgers throwing to them. So Aaron Rodgers will not get us a Super Bowl. A great team and Aaron Rodgers will get us a Super Bowl. That's how you get a Super Bowl. Yes, it's never a quarterback that's going to get you a Super Bowl. Like, you don't do it alone.
No, and what quarterback are we willing to hitch our wagon to who's going to give us the best chance to get there? That's the question we got to ask ourselves. And once we get that quarterback, what assets are we still going to have, whether it's cap space, whether it's draft picks, in order to supplement the rest of the roster to, put us in a position to play what is going to be a brutally hard schedule next season. In addition to what we have to deal with in the division, we got to face the NFC East, which had 3 playoff teams, including a Super Bowl finalist. We got to see Mahomes. We've got to see Herbert, and then we're going to Vegas. We're going to Denver. We got some tough games coming up next year, boys and girls. The roster has to be upgraded, and the quarterback's just the start of it. The defense needs another step up too. It does, good as it is, but it needs another step up.
You see, but here's my thing about what you need as a generation quarterback to win it all. Well, is every quarterback every Super Bowl winner in the last 20 years had a generational quarterback?
I mean, is Matt Stafford generational?
Right? No.
Is Nick Foles generational?
No.
Brady wasn't at the end of his career, I would argue, but that's another story. But Eli Manning, very good, good quarterback. Good quarterback.
Good quarterback, not generational.
How long does a generation last, by the way? Yeah, we need to define the term generation, you know?
So Mahomes has won a couple.
Mahomes, absolutely.
And he's generational. Okay.
Yes.
But he's won 2. In the last 15 years, there's 13 others. Some of them are Brady, and then the others are scattered around other guys like Stafford, Eli Manning.
Peyton's on that level too.
Oh, Peyton, yeah.
Drew Brees.
But you know what's interesting? Yeah, but what's interesting about Peyton Manning is he won it when he wasn't like a great quarterback.
Right, one of them, yes.
Like the quarterback, the Super Bowl he won with Denver. Look at his numbers. He wasn't.
That was the Von Miller game.
He was a game manager by that point.
Yep.
He was a game manager by that point for that season. I mean, that was like he was playing. He couldn't feel his fingers. He physically wasn't there. He was struggling to even feel his fingers. But he was a game manager. He was smart, and he had a hell of a team around him. Yeah, so Bang Mateo with another super chat. Guy is amazing. Thank you. You forgot coaching. Our age coach gets out-coached too much. I think he improved, though, last year over the year before.
I think so, too.
I think he showed growth. I do. I think he showed growth.
As far as the in-game, I mean, the only real clock management issues that I had were that Detroit game. That was an abortion.
Yeah.
But
trusted the wrong guy. Trusted the wrong guy. He has a guy that's job that is, and the guy failed.
I feel like he does pretty well with challenges, when to go for it, when not to go for it, because that's ultimately his call. So yeah, as far as an in-game coach, I think he's pretty good. And also another thing, I know this isn't as important, but handling the media, I think he's become much better in press conferences, knowing what to say, what not to say, knowing how much, when to shut up. I think he's become more adept at handling the media as well. So I think Saleh, that first year was definitely some growing pains there. But you know what? I didn't expect him to come in and I guess the other thing people talk about, he can be very reserved on the sideline. He's very animated when things are going well. You'll see him celebrate with the players and stuff like that. But when things aren't going well, he does get very quiet, with one exception, and that's to criticize the officials. He'll go off on a referee. He will do that, but he doesn't chastise his players on the sideline. Now, that might be something that is important, but you know what? If he just chooses to handle that behind closed doors and we don't know about it, then that's the way he wants to do it, and that's fine.
Explosive Diarrhea says, it still feels like the Jets are prioritizing getting a quarterback veteran to help develop Zach's develop versus winning.
I don't know.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
It's hard to know for sure because they're kind of stuck with Zach because he costs more to cut than keep him. And what are you going to say? It costs more to cut him than to keep him. We're stuck with this bum. Or what do you say? We haven't given up on him. We're going to develop him. It's just talk. Because if we get Derek Carr for 3 years, 4 years, Zach's gone by that time. He's going to get out of town. Even if we get Rodgers for 2 years, we're not going to pick up Zach's 5th-year option, obviously. He's going to be a free agent. Does he want to stay here? I'm sorry, guys. Let's be honest about ourselves. We're the most toxic fan base. We were Twittering his mother. Do you think he's really going to stay here after what we've done to this poor kid? The poor kid. I mean,
I get it.
He's far from a poor kid. But like after what we've done to him, and I'm not attacking anybody or saying fair or unfair, but would you ever stay? If you're Zach Wilson, when these 2 years are up, are you really gonna stay? There's no way. He's gone. He's gone. They were wearing T-shirts with the other quarterback's name, Mike White's name on it. The team. It was, you know how toxic it must have been for him to see that and to have to live with that?
I would be going I'd be going to the West Coast, like Arizona, as far away as I could possibly get from the East Coast. Explosive diarrhea, here's how I'm going to respond to this, to your comment. If the Jets were to sign, let's say, Matt Ryan as their only quarterback, I would agree with you. If you're signing Derek Carr, if you're signing Jimmy Garoppolo, you're signing Aaron Rodgers, you're even Ryan Tannehill, you're at least signing a quarterback who wins games and gets to the playoffs. I mean, some more than others, but you have capable quarterbacks who win football games. If we were to go to like a Matt Ryan, yes, I would definitely agree with that perspective because Ryan would be a fantastic mentor for Zach Wilson, but he's finished. He's beyond finished. So. Yeah, let's revisit that comment once we actually do acquire a quarterback.
Yeah. Now Tigo's saying something about why wouldn't we give him the 5th-year option? If you have to decide going into his 4th year on the 5th-year option, and it's guaranteed. There's no way out of it. It's guaranteed. Like so I don't know what you're talking about, Tigo. So we like, and I think it would be like 20 million or something. What would the guaranteed thing be? Like 20 million?
Ooh, let me pull it up.
I mean, whatever it is.
I think it's 20. But,
no, it's possible.
He was drafted number 2. It's high. Yeah, it'd be high.
Right. And how are they going to do that? Plus, they have to pay the Aaron Rodgers departure fee that we just talked about. So now you'd be paying $30 million for Aaron Rodgers to be gone after 2 years, and then you're going to be guaranteed to pay Zach $20 million or whatever it is. Now you're paying $50 million. What if Zach sucks? You know, like, I'm sorry. There's no way we're picking up his 5th year. No way. We didn't even pick up Mekhi Becton's 5th year. Obviously, he hasn't played for 2 years. So there's no way now we're going to do that. They already said we're not going to. And it's because we don't have any evidence he's going to be good again. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, if we sign Rodgers or Carr for 2 years or Carr for 3 or 4 years, I am telling you without question, the only way Zach Wilson will ever play for the Jets again is by injury. Otherwise, he is gone. And I'm not saying he won't succeed somewhere else. The only way Zach has a happy ending with the Jets and becomes a great Jets quarterback is somebody gets hurt and Zach comes in as the hero. And he's amazing. That's the only way. Anything other than that, he's gone. Now, it's possible Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, we sign them. They get hurt for 6 or 7 games, and Zach comes in and throws 250, 300 yards a game. He's a different guy, but Nathaniel Hackett revived his career, and now we're going to pick up his 5th-year option, and we're like, oh my God, when our veteran is done, we have Zach Wilson. But guys, that's a hell of a long shot. Because how many stories in the NFL sound like that one?
Jim Plunkett, Kurt Warner was a starter pretty much early. Yeah, few and very far between. So
there's always a chance that LaFleur was so terrible that Zach could actually develop. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe.
It's funny because I didn't even read this before I said that. Yeah, like what if somebody gets hurt, Zach comes in and he's great because Nathaniel Hackett resurrected him.
It is possible, but again, I
It's a
still wonder
long
what's
shot.
going on right now. I mean, put it this way: Zach's not going anywhere. His first 4 years are fully guaranteed on his contract. The fifth year, those numbers haven't been released. What the fifth year option would be, but I mean, yeah. But right now, he's making $9.5 million this year. He's making $11 million in 2024, and that money is guaranteed. It would cost $11 million to release Zach after 2023. So
you have to figure
yeah.
that based on Sam Darnold's contract, guaranteed, I think it was 17 million or something. You have to figure that Zach is going to cost, if we want to, like by then, 20 million. You have to, or somewhere give or take. So
I mean, it's steadily going up, but I would think maybe 15 million would be reasonable. I mean, it went from 6 million, 6.3 million to 7.9 million last year. Now it's going to be 9.5 million. Then it's going to be 11.1 million.
oh.
So it's going to be steadily increasing. I don't know if it'll be 20, but I would think 15 maybe.
So maybe they do it, but it would. The only way they do it is if, because of a couple of injuries, he got to play some and showed he can. Like maybe Carr is or whoever our quarterback is, they get hurt for a couple of games. Zach comes in and plays really well. Then for that kind of money, you say, okay, this other quarterback's going to be gone. Let's pick up his fifth-year option, and that'll be his prove-it year. And if he's doing really well during the season, we'll extend him.
It sounds so far-fetched, but hey, just about anything can happen. But
it's so far-fetched. It's so far-fetched.
Yeah. It feels weird talking about a player who hopefully will not see the field next season.
Right, because we don't want him to see the field.
No.
So if all goes right, we're never going to see Zach Wilson play another snap for the Jets again, except for preseason, if all goes right. Because if all goes right, we're going to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr, and they're going to stay healthy.
And, and like we said, it's been a long time since we've had a healthy quarterback. A lot of that has to do with the offensive line falling apart. Healthy line, healthy quarterback.
No, I don't want to pay Carr $40 million, but you're leaving out an important stat. You're using one stat, interceptions. Kind of forgetting. You're forgetting the touchdowns that Carr threw. You're forgetting the completion percentage that Carr had. You're forgetting the yardage that Carr had. You're forgetting that he's like number 5 in NFL history in fourth quarter comeback wins. There's a lot. Joe, you're leaving a little bit out when you take one stat. You're leaving a little bit out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I
know
that
he's saying Tom Brady has lost three Super Bowls.
I'll take whatever shot.
You know what I mean? And forgetting about the 7 that he won. You know what I'm saying?
I just try to keep it well. I just try to keep it well rounded. But
I mean, DVOA.
Man, he's made 4. Carr's made 4 Pro Bowls and finished 3rd in the MVP voting in 2016. It's been a minute.
I feel pretty strongly about DVOA as far as a ranking system, a rating system. I mean, it might not be the best, but it's certainly not bad or the worst. And 4 out of 5 years, top 10 quarterback, Derek Carr. I mean, I'm just not going to sit there and pretend he's not good. He might not be perfect. Nobody is, but he's good.
The one stat that is quite surprising is that his completion percentage went from 68% in 2021 to a little bit over 60% this year.
Horrendous coach.
That's all, and that's it is
in Denver.
He
did the same thing in Denver. This guy McDaniels. He did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
he blows up football teams.
Yeah. So
he's a horrendously bad coach. He, instead of coming in, he only knows how to come in and put his own system and not look at who he has. You come into a team that has Derek Carr, and you insist on your system that's the complete opposite of how Derek Carr succeeds. And now it's the second team where he's going to force out players. Like they just released Carr with no replacement. They just released him, right? It's the same thing he did in Denver. He's going to decimate the team, and then he'll be gone, and that'll be it. He's a horrendously bad coach. He's a good offensive coordinator, a miserable head coach because he has no ability to make adjustments, apparently. Which is weird because in New England he had Tom Brady most of the year. So,
and the Raiders are in the abyss. It feels like the Raiders have been in the abyss ever since they lost that Super Bowl to Tampa Bay. they have just been in neutral or going backwards ever since. Yeah. For the most part, that is
Is Derek Carr? I don't think Derek Carr is going to cost $40 million. If he does, that's surprising to me.
I definitely think 30s. I would think
30s, low 30s.
Yeah, I would think mid 30s would be that'd be reasonable.
Someone might overpay for him. I mean, we can't say never because look what Cleveland did. Look for wide receivers, what Jacksonville did. Like, there's always some team that might bust the market open.
It all comes down again. It comes down to Rodgers. Will Aaron Rodgers play next year? Because if he doesn't, Derek Carr is the most desired free agent quarterback on the market.
And there's a lot of teams in need.
Many. The question, and the other question of that is how many of them will choose to adjust it through the draft? Because, like we said, there's a lot of quarterbacks who are going to be drafted in the first round. At least 4, maybe 5. It's a very good quarterback draft at the top. It's not deep, but it's very top heavy. So, be interesting to see who goes after those quarterbacks.
Anytime somebody says, why would the Raiders have given up? I see Mo saying it. Like, why would the Raiders have given up Derek Carr? It's the coach. He did it in Denver too. He only knows how to coach players that are built for his system. It's the coach.
This system ain't working. It ain't working. Put it this way. Derek Carr's yards per game didn't go from 282 to 234 because he forgot how to play football or wasn't capable anymore. It was a complete. Like we said, Zach Wilson, I've said before, Zach Wilson and Michael LaFleur was not go. It didn't work. And as the year went on, I realized it more and more. And I think McDaniels and Carr are just as incompatible. Actually, McDaniels is incompatible with common sense, but that's another story.
Yeah.
It's 12:06. Man, we're already past midnight.
Well, we've come to that time where we've got to go.
All right.
So, guys, thanks for all the chat. You filled this 2 hours flew by. Thanks to you guys, all the comments that just made a whole show. What do you got going on? Y2K99, let them know.
Well, I'm going to be doing a couple of videos on free agency. I'm going to record those probably Thursday and Friday, I would imagine. So I'll be talking about 20 different free agents, so worth exploring. No, we don't have a whole lot of cap space, but there are some names to keep an eye on. Some of the names you'll know, some are a little bit more under the radar. And some will cost a lot of money, some may not cost more than a couple $1 million. So check those out. And I'm continuing my series on Mets prospect profiles. I've done, maybe 9 or 10 of them now. And I'll be doing the next one on Kevin Parada, who is a top catching prospect, one of the top catching prospects in baseball, who will be joining the Mets in the next couple of years. Fantastic bat. I'll be doing a breakdown on him. Look for that by this weekend.
Okay, and I will be back on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern with Dom C and a special guest from Jets Nation, who's also in Alabama for the Senior Bowl with Dom C. We're really excited to have this guest, and we're going to be going over the top 10 wide receivers coming out of this year's draft. I know there are some Jet fans out there that want a wide receiver in the first couple of rounds. There's been some people the first round, some people the second round, some people third, fourth round, but whatever it is, we're going to get to know some of those wide receivers, what's realistic and when we can get them. We're going to be talking about what they can offer the Jets and any other team. So whether you're a Jets fan or not, everybody should like and enjoy Dom C on Sunday night, 9 o'clock, top 10 wide receivers. And that's about it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Take care. Thank you, Y2K. Thanks for those guys who gave the super chats. Thanks for the ones who just made regular chats. Thanks for everybody that's going to watch later. For those that listen that don't chat, I thank you all. We appreciate you all. And have an amazing night. And we'll all see you tomorrow on Green Beans channel, because I know that you all like to go. Take care, everyone. I would regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
We have one of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game, and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Aquanu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold, or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today, you can't get rid of him.
Right, it's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Okay, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
You know, what would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.